Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Okay, so we started with tzedakah, Gidal tzedakah shemekarev esagiula, and welcome everyone. Hi Tony, good to see you. BG, I don't know who that is. Welcome, Joseli. Welcome, Chaya, Hani, Sarah. Okay, so let's begin. So last 2 weeks ago we did Let's Talk About Marriage Part 1, and today we're doing Part 2. So what I want to do today is speak a little bit about the feminine energy, because when we speak about marriage, there's the masculine energy and there's the feminine energy. Now, we need to understand that the feminine and masculine energy is found in every single person. So the man has feminine energy and masculine energy, just that the masculine energy is much more dominant. There's much more of it in a man. And by a woman, she also has masculine energy and feminine energy, just that she has more feminine energy. So it really is about the balance for each person. Now, we wanna what the reason why I chose the title "Let's Talk About Marriage" is because I want this to be like a discussion that I want to share with you some ideas about marriage, and uh, please God, it will be a way to have more awareness and more clarity, so that we have a little bit more understanding exactly how this relationship happens. Now, you might be married for 40 years, 50 years, you might be in the first year of marriage, you might be in your 10th year of marriage, but there's some things that are very that it's a thread, a common thread that's going to go through every marriage, no matter how long you've been married. So, how do we step into feminine energy? So, that's the first thing that I want to speak about. And in order to understand that a little bit more, so I'm going to um, take a little bit from the book Tanya, which is authored by the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, who wrote the Tanya as a GPS for the soul, so that we have more awareness and more understanding of the workings of the soul, and that way we understand ourselves better. So in the Tanya, it says, just open it here, it says that when we speak about das or da'at, we're speaking about the third level of consciousness that connects the person. It's the bridge almost to the emotion. So we have three intellectual faculties, which is chachma, bina, and dat. So chachma would be the wisdom, would be the point, which is that we have an awareness of something, but it's still a point. And then we have the bina, which is understanding of it. So then it's a little bit more expansive. And then we have the dat, which is the knowing. It's the knowing. So you're already more connected to the idea. It's not just something, that's intellectual. It's something that you really, really connect to. So that's the word, the connection. So the dat brings the connection between the intellectual faculties and the emotional faculties. And then we have the 7 faculties, which are the midos, which are the emotional attributes, which is chesed, gevura, tiferet, netzach, hod, yesod, and malchut, which are the 7 faculties of the soul. And they're also called the midot. Midot, it comes from the word midah, which is a measurement. So you have kindness, and you have severity, discipline, then you have compassion, and so forth. Actually, the 7 um, uh, arms of the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple, they each represented one of these emotional attributes, because the menorah that we light today has 8, and then we have the shamash. And in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, we had, and we will have, it's going to have 7 branches, 7 arms. So each arm is connected to one of the 7 emotional attributes. So when we speak about the feminine energy, so there's many angles how you can see it. So we know that Abraham and Sarah, who were who are the first Jew is Abraham, and his wife, the first mother, the first father and the first mother of the Jewish people is Abraham and Sarah. So Abraham, he represents the attribute of kindness, generosity, giving, expansion. And this is Abraham who married Sarah, and Sarah is disciplined. She's gevura. We see in the story also that she manifested this emotional attribute of gvura, which is discipline. So here we already see that Sarah, who is the first matriarch, she embodies the attribute of gvura, which is discipline. So this is something to have in mind. The feminine energy has gvura, has discipline. Now, how does she have discipline? Discipline is all about boundaries, boundaries in time, boundaries with who you go, which person you're going to interact with, boundaries on what to say, what to think, what to do. So that's gvura. Gvura is about boundary setting, order, having a structure, having a plan. So that's feminine energy. We start with Sarah. Then we have the second couple, which is Yitzchak, who was gvura because he takes after his mother, Sarah. And then we have Rivka, who is the attribute of kindness. And that was actually something that Avraham wanted for Yitzchak, because Yitzchak was disciplined and Gvura was severity. He needed a wife that was going to balance that out. So Rivka was very much about kindness, and we see that the test that Eliezer, the very faithful servant of when he went to look for a wife for Yitzhak, he looked for that attribute that she should have kindness. So now we see that the feminine energy is also about kindness, about giving, about being generous with your time, being giving, being nurturing. Okay, and it says that when Rivka, she came into Sarah's tent after Sarah had passed away. So it says that the miracles came back to the tent, the three miracles that happened. So it was through her attribute of kindness. So now we're seeing that the second attribute of in femininity, of malchut, which is the feminine energy, that's kindness. So being gentle, being kind with our words, being kind with our thoughts, giving the benefit of the doubt, judging positively. So this is also the feminine energy, which is represented by Rivka. Now we have the third couple, which is Yaakov and his two wives. He actually had four wives. Let's speak about Rachel and Leah, because Rachel and Leah, they represent two types of energy. Rachel is the perfect tzaddik, is the person who is just, who goes on a straight line, on a straight path. They are very divine. They're divine consciousness. They're very aware of the divine consciousness in their life. So they do the right thing. They know what's right for them. And it's pretty peaceful because they do what's right and that's it. Leah, she represents the Baal Tshuva energy, which is the person, the repentant, the person that comes back to Hashem, that is returning. And it says that she cried a lot because she didn't want to marry Esav. It was destined that she was going to marry Esav. And she turned her destiny around she turned it around by her crying. Now, what does the crying represent? The crying of Leah, that her eyes were weak, that her eyes were sore, represents the energy of tshuva, which is when we repent and we go back to ourselves. And it's interesting because the word for tshuva, is to return. It doesn't say to go on the right path. It says to return. So we're really doing like a U-turn. We went away and then we're coming back. So it's a return. And this return is very, very comforting because it's not that you're going to something new. It's not that you're moving away from something. It's really coming back home. Like when you go somewhere and you say, I feel at home here. I'm feeling the energy here is encompassing me in a way that I feel that I'm at home. I feel comfortable here. So that was the energy of Leah. She had the energy of tshuva, which could sometimes, used to be very tearful, the tshuva. Now we're doing tshuva from happiness, from joy. So that's also a very feminine energy, which is to recognize that when things are challenging, we might have to make a pause, take a pause, and look back so that we can return to our energy. And sometimes simply pausing and taking the time to really um, like go back to yourself, like return to yourself, this already is a very feminine energy, because we're not looking for answers and we're not looking to solve things from the outside. We're going inward. That's the whole energy of Leah, which is to go inward. So when Leah found out that she was going to marry Esav, I mean, that's how it was written. Everyone was talking about it, because not it wasn't just gossip. It was really that they were destined for each other. She went inward and she said, what am I going to do about this situation? I don't want to marry Aesop. She looked at his profile and she said, this is not somebody that I want to marry, even though the light in his soul was so great. And that's why Yitzchak wanted so much to channel this energy. He showed him so much unconditional love to bring Aesop back to him. But really, the choices that Aesop was making was that he wasn't going to be one with the soul energy that he had. That's why a very interesting story happened at the end of Esav's life. It says that he was capulated, like his head. They chopped off his head, and his head rolled into Yaakov's grave. So what does that represent? It represents that all the high energies, which was represented like with his soul, because the soul is in the head, is in the brain, that's where it resides. It was always a disconnect between his body and his head. Even if he knew that he had all this potential, he never actualized it in his body and his guf. When he passed away, I mean, when he died, so the head was separate from the body because he never integrated that. So when Leah saw this, when Leah saw that Esav was not integrating his body, his behavior, his actual living in this world with his true potential, she says she went inwards. She didn't go speak to her sister. She didn't go speak to her father. She didn't try to match, get another match. She simply went inside herself and she prayed and she cried. And through her tears, through her feminine energy, she was able to, not only did she not marry Esav, but she married the twin of Esav, which is a part of Esav. If you think of it, it was like a part of the potential of Esav, but it was manifest in his twin, which was Yaakov, which is another type of light. And she ended up marrying Yaakov not as Rachel, because she really married first, like she even married before Rachel. So this is the feminine energy of looking inside ourselves, taking the pause, just taking that breath and looking for the answers within and finding those answers, listening to that inner voice and trusting it, and then behaving accordingly. So that is also a very high level of um, self-esteem, we would say, God esteem. Like when a person really goes inside themselves and say, I have the answers inside. I'm going to see what is true for me. And then they're going to take either an they're going to or they're going to, because it's not about you running outside yourself looking for answers. A lot of people, oh, I'm breaking up. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Let me just check my Wi-Fi. Just 1 second. Mm. Okay, but you know what? My Wi-Fi is great, and also my internet connection. I'm wondering why maybe it's your phone because it looks like by me it's good. Let me just go back to the Zoom. Okay, I just want to welcome Shterna Sarah. I want to welcome Hani that just came in. Now it's fine. I want to welcome Hani Belinov, Natalie, Hanahinda. Oh, okay, Baruch Hashem. I want to welcome Gila, Gitti, Deborah. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so we spoke about Sarah, Sarah's energy, which is the first matriarch, which was Gevura, discipline. We said that that's about boundaries. Then we spoke about Rivka's feminine energy, which is kindness and generosity and being gentle and good, like in that way. And then we spoke about Rachel. Rachel represents the feminine energy of a tzaddik, which is like the innocence, being very genuine, knowing what's right, what's wrong, and doing exactly what's right and just following that path and not making it too complicated and too meditating too much about it, like very just very to the point. And then we have Leah, which is her feminine energy of going into oneself and really embracing our truth and having the courage to look at it and address it and maybe even discuss it with someone, but really come to a conclusion by listening to your inner voice. About Leah's energy, I would like to speak a little bit about the feminine energy in marriage, okay? Because until now, we just spoke about the feminine energy. Now I want to speak about it in marriage. So something very simple and very profound is happening in many marriages. And I want to start it with a question. So the question is, what is the feminine energy that a woman wants to display, wants to be in her marriage? Because when you're working as a professional, when you're being a mother, when you're being a grandmother, when you're being a friend, when you're being a daughter, yes, all these are different angles of feminine energy. Yet when you're with your husband, it's a different energy. The feminine energy takes on a very different power, I would say, a very different, it becomes very wholesome and very important to understand the feminine energy. So by the Kabbalah, by the mystics, it says that the feminine energy is the energy of receiving, is being mekabel. So who do we compare this to? So we compare it to Shabbat. Shabbos is the seventh day of the week, and it's the feminine energy of the week. The first 6 days are the masculine energy, and the seventh day is the feminine energy. So the first 6 days of creation, the masculine energy, we are in the energy of doing, accomplishing, being partners with God in creation, making things go from A to B, from B to C, having a plan, having an order, having a structure. And you're very, very in a plan. Like there's a saying, it says, it seems like you have a plan. So a person really it's very directional. Like you're going in a certain direction, you want to come to a certain outcome, and you're moving towards that outcome. So that is the masculine energy of the 6 days of creation. Then, and those 6 days of creation, which are masculine, are mashpia. Mashpia are the ones that give, the givers, the one that is donating, the one that is giving. So that would be the 6 days of creation. Then we have the seventh day of creation, which is when God rested. And that's the feminine energy of Shabbat. Now, Shabbat receives the energy from the 6 days of creation. It receives the masculine energy of the 6 days of creation. What do our sages say? Whoever worked on the 6 days on Erev Shabbat, which is the Erev Shabbat would usually be Friday, but it's like how do you say Erev Shabbat, like the before Shabbos comes, so the preparation for Shabbat. So whoever worked before Shabbat, they're going to eat, they're going to have pleasure, they're going to be satisfied on Shabbat. So the 6 days of creation are the masculine energy of giving, and Shabbat is the feminine energy of receiving. Now, with the feminist movement, women have stepped into a very masculine role of doing, accomplishing, working, speaking up, making things happen, being, going into politics, going into business, being all types of professionals. And that's the masculine energy. And that's totally fine when a woman, she wants this, she has that masculine energy of doing, of accomplishing, of making things, of reaching a goal, of coming to a certain outcome. And that is the 6 days of creation. And the women also have that masculine energy. Yet it's really important in marriage to understand that the masculine energy in marriage needs to be mostly for the man, mostly for the husband, so that she, the wife, she can step into feminine and her feminine energy and be true to herself. And that takes a lot of trust. That takes a lot of assurance. She needs to be very secure in herself, in being feminine, in being gentle, in being kind, in putting healthy boundaries so that she can step into her feminine energy. Now, the feminine energy, on the title of this, of the flyer, when I invited to come to this class, I wrote, step into your feminine, into your feminine energy and see miracles unfold. Now, why did I connect the feminine energy with miracles? I mean, one thing is to say, be a woman, step into your feminine energy. It's about boundaries, it's about being true to yourself, it's about, speaking up and, saying things in a way that you will be heard, having a voice, being true to yourself. So all that is beautiful. So what does that have to do with the miracles? So here, let's go back a little bit in time. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvarav. So going back in time, when the Jews were in Egypt, now we have to understand the context of what that meant. It meant that every single member of Yaakov's family, who had become from 70 souls, they became a nation. They became a big nation, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people, um, became this nation. So when they were in Egypt, they were enslaved. Every single Jew was enslaved. There was nowhere to run to. There was no other place to turn to. Not one single slave managed to escape Egypt. And the fact that every single Jew was in Mitzrayim, was in Egypt, meant that everyone was enslaved and there was no one that could save them from that predicament of them being enslaved. And what did the women do there? So they took action. The women, first of all, their action was not superficial. It wasn't artificial. It wasn't something just on the outside. Okay, this is what I should do. It came from their most inner feminine energy of faith, that they knew that they were going to be redeemed. They knew without any doubt that God was going to redeem them and they were going to be saved and they were going to witness miracles. And they prepared their tambourines, they prepared their musical instruments because they knew that they were going to be redeemed. Now, meantime, but they were waiting to be redeemed, and they took action. What is the action that they took? They stepped into their feminine energy. And what they did was they took makeup and they beautified themselves and they went to their husbands, and they went to their husbands who were in the fields. And the first thing they did was they gave them to eat. Okay, that was the first step. So first, the men couldn't be hungry. That's not a good idea, that they should be hungry. Let's first give them to eat. So they, made sure to give them fish which actually the sages say that it is very good for fertility, to having more children. And they beautified themselves, and they brought the mirrors. Now, what were the mirrors? The mirrors were where they would take copper and they would shine it very, very much until you would see their reflection. So they would show the mirrors to their husbands, and they would say, "Who is more beautiful, you or me?" And then they would come into conversation, and by that they would be intimate, and then they would have children. Now we have to understand that this was at a such a time in history that it was a Holocaust, but there was nowhere to escape. It was they were taking newborn babies and throwing them into the Nile. It was so dangerous. The women, they did not go and ask somebody their opinion. They went into themselves and they said, "How am I going to step into my feminine energy and do what I know is true for myself?" And that's what they did. And they beautified themselves. They gave their husbands, first they went to their husbands, they became visible. They became visible, not invisible. They became visible, which is another point that I want to touch on. And I do want to leave it because we have a smaller crowd today. I'm very excited about that, because then I think we can have more of a discussion also. Last week it was, 2 weeks ago it was wonderful. We had a really large crowd. It wasn't really that opportunity. So because we have a smaller crowd, let me just see. Oh, that's beautiful. We have 20 beautiful people here. So maybe we can open it up for discussion. So I want to speak a little bit about um, the fact that the women, they so believed in the promise that they were going to be redeemed, that they took action. Their action was based on their belief. So one thing is for us to do something, when we don't really identify with what we're doing, but we do it because it's the right thing to do. Now, our sages say, even when you don't identify with something, do it. Doing it, that's how you're going to identify with it. That's how you're going to connect to it. We don't feel it, deeper understanding of it. So what women did, without a doubt, they were going to be redeemed. And that made them come to realization they needed to have children. So they had children, and see these children survived. And this to every single child that was born, that this child was born in purity, and this child was born with the most beautiful intentions. So the women, they went inside themselves, they listened to their inner voice, they had the faith, and they acted upon the faith. So how many times we have a feeling and we have a desire to do something because we know that this is true for us. We know that this is what our neshama is telling us. This is what's going to make us happy, and this is what's going to bring this feminine energy. And then we're doubtful because we don't know if other people are going to understand or they're going to validate it. And then we sort of self-doubt that feminine energy. So what we could do is we can trust that feminine energy, go inside, and then act upon it. And when we do that, and please don't take my word for it, just try it yourself. Step into your feminine energy and then see the miracles unfold, because the miracles do happen. And what does it mean to really step into your feminine role? So let's talk about the miracles that happen in marriage. So one of the things that are very attractive to the man is when a woman steps into her feminine energy. When she acts like a man, talks like a man, acts like a man, is very aggressive, passive, or because that's the masculine, right? Like to be more like on the go. When she steps into like more masculine energy, that to her husband, a masculine energy. For her to step into her feminine energy is very attractive to her husband. So basically, the feminine energy attracts. It doesn't go after it. And how do you attract? So it's through your thoughts, through your speech and through your action. And yes, hamaise hua ikar, the actions are the main thing. But we need to not underestimate the power of our words and the power of our thoughts, whatever we're feeling. I want to share something a little bit more on the personal side. I have a niece who's actually learning Eretz Yisrael now, and I was once taking a walk with her. We were discussing, like different speakers and people that, teach and everything. And she was saying that when people, take a book and give over information, it's nice, but she doesn't really connect to it. She really connects when someone like share something more personal. So I want to share something personal. And what does it mean to step into feminine energy? And it means being vulnerable, and being vulnerable means taking a risk. Because when you're being vulnerable and you're being very authentic, you don't really you're not protecting yourself to see, like, you're not in a defense mechanism to see how to protect yourself from how the other person is going to react. You have no idea how the other person is going to react. Either they might laugh, they might agree, they might not agree, they might embrace you, they might not. But you take the risk by being authentic and being vulnerable, because at the end of the day, it's not what the other person thinks about your vulnerability. It's about how you feel in being true to yourself, by you being genuine and honest with yourself. So it was a Friday night, and I was serving, the how do you say, the Friday night meal. And Baruch Hashem, I have Baruch Hashem, Hashem gifted us with 6 boys and 5 girls. And since they're very little, I never made a difference between the girls and the boys, like what, what they should do in the house. Like the boys set the table, the boys take off the table, the boys wash the dishes, the girl, whatever. Everyone does everything, and there's no difference. Actually, I remember once one of my very Hasidic boys, I once asked him to wash the dishes, and he's like, "What? I'm gonna wash the dishes." I think he was like 14 at the time, and I said to him, "If you can explain to me what the difference is between washing the dishes because mommy asked for that, which is kibud avayim, and you putting on tefillin. I want you to tell me what's the difference between those two things." And there's really no difference. They're both, a mitzvah. And he understood. And then he started washing dishes, and he does it like he did it with like a lot of soap, and there was like a lot of bubbles, and it became a thing, like that this child, would do the dishes. And so that's a feminine energy is about putting boundaries, is about saying things, not being afraid to voice your opinion, and to say it in a way that that it feels true to you, and we hope that what feels true to you is going to be, accepted, in a positive way. But anyway, it was a Friday night, and I was serving, dinner for my family, and actually everything was ready, but I have like a special, whatever food that I eat. I mean, it's the same as everyone else, but it's just like set up in a different way. So I was taking a little bit longer in the kitchen. But they started eating, my husband and the kids, and I started feeling I started feeling uncomfortable, and I started feeling resentful. And I could feel it like bubbling up in myself. And I decided that I'm going to really go inside myself and see what was going on. And I realized that I was feeling left out because everyone was eating the meal and I was still preparing. Like they didn't wait for me. But it wasn't that they didn't wait for me. It was more, what was I feeling? I was feeling left out. So I said, okay, so I'm feeling left out. I'm not feeling part of. So that could be painful. That could be challenging. So I finished preparing my food and I came to the table. And then they were in the middle of, I don't know, saying Dvar Torah or something. So I said, oh, I would love to hear the Dvar Torah. I don't want to feel left out. And I said that. I said the sentence. And it was a huge, it was actually this Friday night. It wasn't so long ago. It was just now. And Hashem always gives me these opportunities, because always before I give a class, Hashem gives me these interesting things that happen, I guess, so I have an opportunity to share, because I want this to be real. I don't want this to be like something from the books, but really something real life. And it felt so empowering. Oh gosh, we're having music here. Sorry. Outside there's music. Okay, stop. So it felt so um it felt so wholesome, that's the word, to feel the feeling, to acknowledge it, to embrace it, and even to verbalize it without any drama, without any, I just said, yes, I would like to hear, the conversation because I don't want to feel left out. And that was it. And I remember in the past, sometimes I wouldn't be able to verbalize that because I had the feelings, but I wasn't able to put the name to it. And actually, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya that when we name something, we give it a name, then it just like we're really stripping away the power. When we give something a name, when we don't give it a name, we try to hide it, then it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. It could grow into a resentment or into anger or into hurt or whatever. So really to be step into that feminine energy. And for me, that was a little miracle to be able to really say how I was feeling without dwelling on it, without being in this whole drama, like they say, drama queen. It really, it really was very empowering to be able to, you know, be in that feeling, embrace it, and not feel any shame about it, and not feel bad about feeling the feel. Sometimes we have a feeling, but we feel so bad we're having this feeling that we're not even able to feel the feeling because we feel so bad that we have the feeling. Well, feminine energy is about embracing it all. And it is sometimes we are going to feel all these feelings of, left out or resentment or whatever it is. And that's okay. And not only is it okay, it's actually healthy to feel because we are human feelings. We are not, and we are human beings. We are being in the feeling and we're not just doers. That's very masculine. We also have the masculine energy, but never should the doing be an escape from the feeling. And I know, and I've seen this, and I've seen that in myself, and I've seen it in other people as well. And I think people are being aware of that it's wonderful to accomplish and to do a lot of good things. But if that is in place, if that's replacing the ability to really feel and be in your feminine energy, then it's an idol. It's like you're worshiping something that's not real. And we know what ends up happening with those idols. It's false. It doesn't give us anything. So, yes, sometimes we do have to go run and do and accomplish. But now we're stepping into feminine energy. And by being, we're doing so much. I had a really challenging day today, really challenging. I was like, Hashem, why am I giving this class tonight? Like, I wish I would be like in a better place. I'm so tired. I just came from traveling and there's so much going on. And I'm still like with the difference of hour and it's so hot here. And like I'm getting accustomed with the climate. And there was, and you know what? I said, you know what? It's okay. Like, I don't have to feel my best to give a class, and I don't have to be in this who knows what awesome high pitched energy. That's actually very like, let's fix it up. Let's just pump it up. No, that feminine energy is stepping into whatever is at the moment. And even if I prepared before, I'm going to be in the energy of the now, whatever energy each of you are bringing, and we're bringing together. And that's why I love the title of this class, because it was more about, let's talk about marriage. Like, I don't want to give a class on this and teach you something that you don't know, like you probably even know most of the things that I'm saying, but let's just discuss it. Let's just talk about it, and let's like be in that energy. It's not even about talking about it, it's about being in that energy of das, of connection. Like I said at the beginning, I think feminine energy is very much about connecting. Do I connect to this? Do I identify with this? Is this speaking to my heart? Is this speaking to me? And if it's not speaking to me, then let me take a pause and see, let me think about it, let me pray about it, let me journal about it, maybe discuss it. I have to go running, to save, to conquer the world. No, we're actually, past that. We already conquered the world. Now we want to nurture. We want to be nurtured and nurture everything that all the seeds that we planted, and now the fruits, and we want to enjoy those fruits. So that's about connecting. That's about the das, which is what the Alter Rebbe says here in the Tanya, and he brings what it says in Chumash, that Adam yada es Chava, that he knew Chava. So today, really just to sum it, and then I want to open it up for discussion because I really want to hear what you all have to say also. Um, so I want to sum it up. So feminine energy is connected to miracles because when you're true to yourself and you're true to your feminine energy, um, there is such a self-esteem, God esteem. There is such an involvement to what you do because you're being so true to yourself. And I know that in the past, when we would hear this, like, oh, what does that mean? Be true to yourself. I'm so scared. What am I going to do? Who knows what I'm going to do? But we don't have to be afraid anymore because of all the work of all the generations before us, of so much masculine energy. Now the feminine energy is ready to surface, to be unleashed, to be channeled, to be revealed in the world. To bring that feminine energy. We don't have to be afraid of it anymore because feminine energy is chava, connection, sarah, boundaries, saying it as it is, being even when that means that someone else might be uncomfortable, but you're putting boundaries. Rivka, generosity, gentleness, kindness. Then we have Leah, which is returning to yourself, which is the tshuva piece, which is going inside yourself and seeing, how do I feel about, marrying Asav? How do I feel about doing this? No, this is not what I want. So let me see what else I could do. I'm going to daven. I'm going to cry. I'm going to feel the feelings. I'm going to be true to myself. And then we have Rachel, which is the kindness and the gentleness and the sort of innocence and being very genuine and very almost like naive, like having a certain naivete, which is part of feminine energy. And then we have the women in Mitzrayim that they had so much faith that they were going to be redeemed. They took action, which is feminine energy. We take action. They beautified themselves. So we beautify ourselves, we beautify our home, we beautify the things that we do. We don't just do it anyway. We make our table beautiful. We make our whatever. Today I was organizing my pantry. I was many weeks away from home, so the pantry needed a little organizing. It felt so good. It felt such a feminine energy, like just to see everything and to reorganize it and throw out things I didn't want and put some things in the fridge and some things in the drawer, and it looks stunning, and it was an accomplishment for me, and it was in my feminine energy. Maybe tomorrow my feminine energy will look like something else, but it's being so confident in your energy that automatically brings you to action. It brings you to take action in a very wholesome way. And it's not only what we do, but it's how we do it, with what energy that we do it. And we spoke also, summarizing also, about feminine energy is not only the things we do, which could be taking a walk in the park, or putting on makeup, or getting a manicure, or resting, or davening, or speaking to a friend, but it's not only what we do, but it's how we do it. It's the energy that we bring into this. I'm not doing this to escape. I'm not doing this to not face something. I'm not doing this as a distraction from something. I'm doing this because this is what feels true to me. This is what feels wholesome for me at this moment. So that's just a little bit of a summary. And I do want to finish with this book. This is the 60-Second Fix by Regaline Melrose. Now, I have a friend, Helena Herman. I think she took the course and she does somatic healing. I did not take the course, but I did receive this as a gift from my sister, and she gave this to me, and I started. Um, I mean, I didn't read the whole book yet. I just started reading it, but I'm already implementing the five. So it's basically the 60-second fix rule. And what you do is it's 5 steps. And I just like connected it to Hasidus because we have 5 levels of the soul and they're each connected to something else, like the intellect, the emotion, the action part, whatever. So I connected those 5 steps to 5 levels of the soul. And it really basically is about being in your body, being present. So I want to do it with you. It takes 60 seconds to do. It's really simple. And if anybody wants to afterwards um, WhatsApp me. I'll send you the 2 pages which explain the 5 steps. You could do it anytime. I started doing it in Fabrengens that I do with people, and I do it myself also. I actually did it with one of my sons, my teenage son, and it's so amazing because it's so simple and it's really about living in the moment because it's not about healing the past. It's not about having good thoughts for the future. It's really about being in the moment and being in your own energy. Let me just see some of the comments here. Okay, the video. Okay, you are okay. I feel it's such a gift for someone to speak and share this. I know people in my life that purposely don't speak because it's not their nature. They are naturally very malchustic. Having a need to speak many times can be contrary to speaking. I heard this from Mrs. Gorkin. Okay, having a need to speak many times. Okay, maybe afterwards, Shterna Sarah, I see that you posted this for everyone, so maybe you can explain a little bit more. I would love to hear more. Um, let's do the 60-second, 1 minute, and then we'll open up and then to share. So basically, you do the grounding, which is to put your 2 feet on the ground, either wearing shoes or without shoes. So that's the grounding. Okay, so that would be the nefesh, which is the part of the soul which is in the body. So you really like in action. And she actually mentions that if you would ask somebody where are your feet, the person would have to like pay attention. Oh, where are their feet? Because they're so in their head or so somewhere else that they don't even notice where their feet are. Okay, so the feet were grounded. I want to be supported. So you can either sit in the chair and feel it like you're being supported by your thighs or maybe your back. Okay, so you're really supported. Then you have the breathing, which is okay. So that the supporting would be the ruach. Okay, so being supported. Then you have the neshama, which is the neshima, which is the breathing. So we're gonna breathe in from the nose and breathe out from the mouth. One more time. Okay, so that's the third time. And now, while you're breathing, you're going to visualize that you're in a scene, in a nice place, either in a park or a beach or the mountains or wherever you want. And while you visualize that, you could do with your eyes open, your eyes closed, you pay attention and you notice how your body feels. So are you shaking? Are you calm? Are you serene? Are you tensed up? So you really want to pay attention to what's happening in your body. So we're going to do this for 60 seconds. So again, you ground your feet, you support your body, you breathe, you visualize, and then you notice the sensations in your body. So let's do 60 seconds, starting 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so that's the 60 seconds. We did 1 minute. And you could do this anytime you want. You could do it whenever you want to be present in your body. Now, what I want to do is I really want to open this up. Let me just see how to do this. Okay. And I want to ask, okay, I want to ask Sarah, if you would like to maybe explain a little bit more what you wrote. I didn't quite understand. If you could maybe explain a little more.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. I just know, I'm saying, let's say for my, like, everyone has a different personality. I'm naturally, like, as a person, I'm more of a go-getter. I like, obviously it's transferring it into a malchus state, but like I'm naturally more of a go-getter, of a like take things by the horns, like grab it all, grab it all at once. So I feel like almost malchus could be very like muting in some ways, because it's like almost muting that like, obviously there's ways to do it, like grab it all by the horns by journaling, grab it all by the horns of, grab, like, but I have that natural part of me, which is very, I feel like it's, you could call it masculine, or it's just very, it could be feminine, but it's just a very strong part of me that's very, it's like almost like calls. It's like a calling to do more than just sit and dream and think about flowers.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
I like, it's a certain like desire to do more, not even do more, but to learn more, to explore, to discover. And like, it almost like, to not do that, it almost makes every other part of life, like, it like kind of takes out the color out of life for me. So can
Yes,
you, like, it's a certain like
yes,
a desire for, it's like a certain like desire of life, desire of like just to conquer the world. And like, it's a certain like, yeah, it's an inner part of me. Some people are more passive, or more, they dress very nicely and they smile and they, you see them, like, there are certain people I know, like, you see them, there's a certain like malchus part of them, like they just dress gorgeous and they like talk very gently and they have very strong values. They keep their values internally, but they just shine it outward, and whoever meets them, like people talk about the Rebbetzin, like whoever meets them kind of like knows exactly what, I'm thinking of a specific person in mind, and she's a very incredible, incredible person. I feel like almost like she dresses very well. Like, I'm seeing like she has very, very strong values, very consistent, but I feel like it's almost, for me to live that life, I would feel muted. Cause like, it's not who, even like passively desiring and then attracting it, but like there's more to it. There's
yes,
deeper,
yes,
there's
yes,
more. It's not just, I don't know. I personally, I'm saying, to like saying teaching and like something going out there. There is a very, I guess I have, some people I guess have more of a learning, discovering, learning chassidus, and really all that for me is much more connecting to who I am versus just like sitting back and like being a nice wife.
yes, yes, yes. So let me ask you a question. No, thank you so much for bringing that out, because it might seem that the Malchus energy, the feminine energy, is passive, gentle, kind, and more, and when you're on the receiving end, you picture, someone like receiving flowers, receiving a gift. So it could seem, very like passive, like that. And so I have a question for you. We had brought like a few personalities. I mean, some personalities like in the Torah. So what you're saying, what personality would that be? Would that be maybe like which woman would maybe represent that? Maybe Yehudis, Dina. Um, Maybe you can come up with some also. I mean,
I feel
um,
like maybe like Chava is more like person I'm thinking about, more connecting, but more personal, one-on-one. Maybe you think of the Rebbetzin, like one-on-one connections, very like, I guess things like that. I guess it could be like Chava. And maybe some people are more gvura energy, like Sarah, and speak up. Like, no, like not in a bad way, but just being very clear, having very clear
Yes,
boundaries,
being very clear.
and knowing exactly where they want to go. And if I have something to say, I'm gonna laugh. Like if I feel like laughing, I'm just gonna laugh. Why not? Like,
Yes,
um,
yes, yes.
I'm gonna
Yes,
like.
and and Sarah, she was called
It's actually my name.
Princess, right? Sarah is from
Yeah.
Princess. Oh, right, that's right. So Sarah. So actually, the boundaries is very much about, yes, speaking up. I mean, there it's very. I don't see
Not in a
how
bad
a
way,
person can
not in
have
an
boundaries if
unhealthy
they
way,
don't
in a
speak up.
nice,
Like
in
you
a
need to speak
kind
up.
way,
Right,
in a kind way, in a
right.
loving way. But
Yes, yes, but saying it as it is, exactly. Saying it as it is. And I guess Malchus energy, which is the feminine energy, is, not being afraid to speak up no matter what the consequences are going to be. Like Yehudis did, in Hanukkah. She took action and she did what she needed to do. And that's when the whole Hanukkah miracle happened. I mean, she really put boundaries in a very strong way. And Chava, actually, she turned, I mean, the whole world, Chassid explains that how she said that by eating from the fruit, then the world would have to refine itself, from milamata limala, like, she had that
it's
perspective
not
and
good.
everything. I think Malchus is very much, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
But that wasn't right. I guess at that point, that wasn't. The world could have been better without that eating from the tree.
Oh yeah, well, she had her reasons why, she did it. I mean, she wanted, that the dira betachtonim, that the home for Hashem should be by our efforts and not from, that we would be involved with this. But, whatever, that's a whole different discussion. But it's interesting how, okay, now I just want to say this because this is what's coming up about feminine energy. Why do we feel, I know that for a long time I would think like that. That's why I'm also like identify with you, Shtenasar, like the doing. Why do we sometimes accompany or associate, that's the word, associate feminine energy with being meek, weak, muted, surrendered? This is, it's really because, the self-sacrifice, the giving up, the compromising, all this has been in Galus. In Geula, the feminine energy steps up to the plate. So it's not meek, it speaks up, it has confidence. It's not weak, it's strong, it's powerful. It's not passive, it's very active, but it's active in a different way than the masculine. It might have masculine energy also, but it's done in a feminine way. This is something that's coming to the world. This is something we're learning about. I mean, I don't know anybody that has it, 100% perfect. We're learning, how is this moon gonna come, to be, Keser Chad L'Shnehem, that's gonna be one crown for the sun and the moon. So how are we stepping into our feminine energy? Now, what I want to finish also with the miracles. Miracles. Okay, so this is what happened in Mitzrayim. The women stepped up to their malchus, their femininity. They beautified themselves. They had their children. They stepped up. They encouraged their husbands, and then they saw miracles. They saw Geula. It's the same thing with us. We step into our feminine, whatever that looks for everyone else, it's going to look different for everyone else. Today, for me, it was, cleaning and organizing the pantry. Tomorrow it's going to go walking to the park. It's going to look different every day, every moment, whatever it's going to look like. But when we step into our feminine energy, we stop trying to be like someone else or what someone else told us to be. We really go inside and we are true to ourselves. And then we're feminine. And then we don't have to be like somebody else. That's not feminine to be like someone else, even if it's very feminine for that other person. But being feminine is being true to yourself, going inward and just, listening to what your intuition, your sensitivity, your das, your bina yisera tells you that extra level understanding. So, I mean, I see you. If anybody want to say something, comment?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Simcha Chaya. I just want to, I guess, add to what Shana Sarah said. I think it's hard for us because,
Hi, good to see you, Hani.
hi, we good? It's great to be here. I think it's hard for us because it looks different for everyone. And we're so used to things just being like, this is how it is, and kind of follow certain things, and it's not. And it takes a lot of, I'm saying, look at all the women throughout history. You have the, like you mentioned, the gamut of, like, you have Chava who did one type of crazy thing. Yehudis, crazy. Esther, like everyone did something. The women who took the mirrors and went out to the fields to be with their husbands so that they can have, bring the children of the generation of Geula. Like all these things, like none of it like fit any sort of pattern or any sort of like mold or any sort of like, steps process of this is how you do it. They just knew and they just did it. And I think it's very it's a very vulnerable place to be open to whatever that is that's needed of us in this moment. And it looks different for everyone, and I know it's like such an annoying thing to say, but like that's the reality. And it looks different every day, and it looks different every minute sometimes. And that's the beauty of our life. That's the beauty of stepping into it, and that's the beauty of stepping into like our true voice. And yeah, so I definitely like echo your question, and I kind of want to say that like we have to keep on asking that question, and have to keep on having these farbrengens to really, you know, be able to articulate it for ourselves. So thank you for creating this space so that we can do that. Can you hear me?
So much. Wow, that added so much. And I loved what you said. It's old or like a fit. Yeah, because that's very masculine, like a fit set thing to do. Okay, so do this, do this, do this, do this, and then you're in your Malchus energy. And it's not. It's fluid. It's fluid. It's how do you say it? It's feminine, and and it's I don't know how to even describe it, but it's also very much, I find for myself, and I would love to hear if other people have what to share. I find for myself the feminine energy is very much about letting go. It's very much about letting go of this grab, like you're holding on to a certain plan, a certain status quo, a certain, structure, and it has to go a certain way. And feminine energy is so much, and it doesn't mean that we don't have a plan and that we don't have a discipline. I love boundaries. I'm very into that. I do a lot of that in my life, with my exercise and my, this and my that. I think that structure and discipline really, keeps us like, all these great lights, it contains them, it channels them. But together with that, to have the flexibility. I just want to give a small example. Tonight, before the class, my husband and me, we went to a vart of a girl of our shul. Now we know this girl since she's a tiny little girl. She's literally a baby. And it was so emotional. I was so emotional at that vart. Why? I mean, her father passed away a few years ago. It was the Gabba of our shul. My husband really took that family, and we took that family like really as our own, like really being involved in everything. She, Baruch Hashem, did real beautiful tshuva, and now she met this boy, somebody in the shul made the shidduch. Anyway, it was very emotional. I was more emotional than by my daughter's Elchaim, and I allowed myself. I mean, because I guess we talk so much, like you were saying, Khan, you also do beautiful Farbrengens. By the way, everyone's Farbrengens. She does them Tuesday and Thursday, and I could send you the link, and they're unbelievable, amazing. When we do these Farbrengens and we articulate it, I, I see for myself, I'm becoming more and more comfortable in that embrace of Malchus, whatever it looks like, and really feeling the feelings and being in the moment. So I went to the Vart, and when I was there, I didn't expect it. All of a sudden, I was like, my eyes were tearing, like with, and I was holding the mother's hand, and she was also so emotional. And I don't know, I just felt like it felt so right for the moment. And then when I went into the car, I was like, it was such a release. Like, I wonder how many times in my life did I hold back not to feel so intensely, because it was like, whoa. But the Rebbe told us, he's giving it over to us. The lights of Toyu are there. You can channel them, you can reach them. And I want to show you guys something beautiful. Look what Malchus looks like. Now, I just wanted to show you this chair. I don't usually sit in this chair, but because I consider it the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says I have two of them. I have one next to it. So this chair, it used to be white here, and it used to be like a I don't know, another like off white, whatever. And the moment that somebody was moving from our shul, whatever, and she asked me if I wanted them, it was hers, and they're very good quality. I said I want them, and I put them in the house. And from the day they came in, because Malchus is a lot about speech also, and like you were saying, Hani, articulating it and bringing about it and discussing it. So we, come to more das about it. Anyway, I would always talk about these two chairs. I would say this is the Rebbe and the Rebbetz's chair. I would always say it. I would tell everyone that came here I would always tell everyone this is the Rebbe. I would send to people. It was just my thing that these are the Rebbe, the Rebbe in this house. And my husband, actually, a few weeks after we got the chairs, it was his birthday. He dreamt Friday night that he was opening the door to our home, to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe walked into the house. It was very special. It was on he dreams a lot with the Rebbe, like a times a year. And it was so special. Anyway, how do we get to these chairs, this gold over here? There is this one person, he's like decorate our home, whatever. We just did some renovations now. And she said she found this person that does this work, this gold thing, painting, which is a very specific thing. He doesn't teach it to anyone. And she says, I'm giving you as a gift to these two chairs. So I bought the material, so like very, like this, and she took care of the chairs. Anyway, they came and they're like, my son says, Ma, these are like it's like the cherry on the cake of like the whole living room that we did. Why am I saying this whole story with the chairs? What does it have to do? It's not about having it all together and understanding every aspect of Malchus or having the whole thing figured out. That's already masculine. Malchus is, like you were saying, it's about being in the flow of it. And when I kept saying, these are the Rebbe and the Rebbetz's chair, it's like, Hashem, I don't know. I came back from the trip and I saw these chairs. I was like, I never saw something like this. It's like for a palace. Like they're so gorgeous and stunning, and they're so Malchus. And I'm like, okay, Hashem is trying to show me, you know what, Simcha, you don't know exactly what Malchus is. You're learning about it. Some days you know more, some days you know less. Are you stepping? But you know what? Don't worry. Just keep moving towards that goal, and it's going to materialize, and it's going to become, either a chairs, or it's going to, whatever it's going to look like for everyone else, So, it's a beautiful journey, and I'm so glad we're doing this together, because I don't think it's a journey that a person could do on their own. There are a lot of women that are stepping into this Malchus feminine energy, and it's putting the fear on the side. Fear, I feel like a lot of the masculine energy is based on fear. I don't want to speak badly about the masculine energy, but I feel like, it's about conquering and fighting, all the enemies and making sure everyone's safe. So there's all these borders and all these battles that have to be fought. Like, that's how I visualize it. And then the woman, Manis Friedman talks a lot about it. He says, like, the woman is the nurture part. Like, okay, now that we won all the wars, what are we going to nurture? What are we going to enjoy now? Enjoy, sit on the couch, let's talk, let's enjoy, let's have a meal, let's discuss it, So it's very much moving in that direction. And it says, that the path that you want to go towards, that path Hashem is going to take us there. So Hashem is taking us in this malchus, and maybe receive, be mekabeh Mashiach, everyone in their own lives and collectively and in the whole world. Amen. I think someone wrote something, so let me just see what it says here.
Could I share something? Sorry.
Beautiful class, great real examples. Thank you. Lovely to hear you. Okay, yeah, sure.
I was thinking just now that
Yes.
I just realized that, like, I just had a click, I think it was this past week, that like I realized every time, like I could be very, very outspoken, like naturally. I realize sometimes the feeling of like having to like fight was almost like a feeling of like, it's like a lack of trust, because it's like feeling like I can't, like no one's gonna save me, so I have to save myself. It's like almost like disconnecting almost from Hashem, because in the way, like I'm fighting, like, I'm doing what Hashem wants, but really, like, it's almost like it's locking up. It's like not, it's almost like a fear of not, it's like a fear that if I don't, and what's going to be like, oh my, like I better, like, and it's like that rush of life, like that rush is almost, even though it could be holy, it could be almost, for me, it could be like disconnecting. Just a thought.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, Shterna Sarah. You're, it's like you're so genuine in wanting the truth, and Hashem is gonna give you like just more levels of understanding and of, and of the truth. It's like we're all finding all these layers inside us, and I feel like the more like we're open to it, to receive that, the more we're understanding. So thanks for sharing that. I definitely relate to that a lot. Like I feel like when I'm rushing, it's okay. Like I had this today, like something in our shlichus, and I was like, you know what, Hashem, you figure it out. I don't want to figure it out. Like it's you, you're gonna figure it out. Yeah. So thanks everyone for coming. It's so special, and I'm really excited that we did this, and it was so nice and cozy. Last week it was amazing. There were like 130 people. It was really nice. It was like a chesed energy, like whoa, that. And today was nice and cozy. We were like many of us, and I felt it was more like contained. I'm so appreciative. Really, single comes energy here in Brazil. Maybe I'm still tired, like the trip, or maybe because it's hot here. But you know what it is. I was able to show together with you, and I'm looking forward to the next. The next of the title, maybe change it. Maybe we'll keep it the
Thank
same.
you.
I'm totally open to new ideas, really. And let's see.
Can I
Yeah,
share
someone's asking
something?
something here. Let me just see here quickly. Can you explain? Hi. Oh yeah, sure. Who is that?
Hi,
Rachi?
Rachi. Welcome home.
Hi,
So nice to
hi
see you
Rachi.
home.
How are you?
Baruch Hashem, good.
Thank you.
This is so nice. So I want to, I guess, tie together a few things that were said today. First, I think Sharon Astar's question is really important, because I think, re-understanding what even feminine, masculine, what the different energies are, and what our options are. And then like what Khani said about like the crazy things that the women have done over the time. And then also like you said about like stepping in. So and like how it's a process. And so this Hanukkah, I'm really focusing on trying to like listen to myself, because it's like one of those times that's especially hard for me to listen to myself, because there's so many opportunities from Mitzrayim, and it just kind of could pull you in, and not in a non-genuine way, or whatever, just a way that I don't want to show up anymore. So it's interesting, because on one hand I'm like, I wish I could do more as far as like listening to myself. At the same time, I've had so many opportunities that just came to me, in a sense where like, because I was in this more of a relaxed state.
Oh, Rachi, are you still there? I don't hear you. I think she came off. Rachi, I don't hear you. Maybe she'll come back on. Okay, so maybe Rachi will come back on. It's
You're muted.
oh, so maybe she's
Now I'm
muted.
good.
I don't
Can
see
you hear
her
me?
on the.
Okay.
Oh, oh yeah, we didn't. Yeah, now we hear. So you were saying there's so many
So,
opportunities, and
so
then
there's
it
so
became
many
mute. I didn't
opportunities.
hear
Like
that
on one
from
hand,
then
I'm
on.
like, I wish I could be more taking care of myself and more like in my own truth. But at the same time, like looking back, like how much farther in, like more truth I am to myself. And I've had a few opportunities where like I could have been like calling people and reaching out and whatever. And there were a few people that even reached out to me and like whenever I she texted me, I invited her a few years ago for Hanukkah, but whatever. So she texted me happy Hanukkah and then like I invited her to an event and it didn't feel like the right thing to do, but I did it anyways. Didn't feel true to me. Okay, this is not working. Happy Hanukkah and wishes to everyone for joy and being more, just even a little more feminine, with the lights of Hanukkah. And thank you, Simcha Chaya. I look forward to this again soon.
Thank you so much, Rachi. Sorry, I'm just oh, what did I do here? Sorry, all these things. I'm just trying to. Oh gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
everything went off here. Sorry. Rachi, thank you so much for your
Okay.
share. And it takes so much courage to, I feel like, to step into this, because it's like Hani was saying before, like if we had just a set thing, okay, we do this, we do like, I mean, that's how I was raised. You do this, you do Shabbos, you do Kashrus, you do Mitzvah, you do this, whatever, you'll be Mikava, the Yidden. And it's just so simple. Like it's so safe. Just do this and this and this, and that's it. But then it's really interesting if we really look, like, I mean, we look at the Rebbe, the Rebbe's leadership. It was so malchus, if we could say that, right? Like, I mean, a new mitzvah and a new campaign, and new awarenesses and new clarities, and just more and more, just stepping into that, into Geula. And the Rebbe, when he said Koyach Nisan, I'm turning this over to you. Could it be that the Rebbe was saying, like, I trust you. I trust that you are going to make Geula happen in your life and for other people as well. So I'm trusting you. Don't not trust yourself. I want to finish with this story. It's an amazing story. Basi Gorelik from Italy, story at the banquet in one of the kinosim, very special in one of the kinos shluchos. She said like this. She said that it was the beginning of her shlichos. She was really young. She prepared a class. She took a train. She went and she gave a class to women, and she followed her notes, and she did great and wonderful. And when she finished the class, the women in the class, they said, "Oh, we really enjoyed it. Could you teach us some more?" They wanted her to say more, and she just finished her notes, and she didn't know what to say, and she didn't say anything. So on the way back, she felt terrible. She says, these women are asking me to teach, and this is why I came, to be on shlichus for this, and I have nothing to say. She felt terrible. She wrote to the Rebbe, and she told the Rebbe that she really felt that she disappointed the Rebbe, that she didn't live up to what she, what she was supposed to, and all that. And the Rebbe answered her, and I don't remember all the details of the letter, but basically the idea was that the Rebbe was saying, so you're questioning the one that sent you? And I love that story, because whenever I feel like, oh gosh, I don't know, I this, I that, it's like, don't worry. The answers will come. Don't go running after them and asking this one, asking that one. And like I know sometimes some people have like 10 rabbanim, and they ask this rav and this rav and this rav, and they keep getting different answers from different. It's like, stop running for all these answers. It's inside you. We follow halacha, we follow what it says in the Torah, we keep Shabbos kosher, and then there's so many chances for creativity, for really stepping into the malchus. And I realize that the more I step into the malchus, the more miracles are happening. And I'm talking parnasa wise. And actually, my husband went to Fabring in the Shabbos, and the Rav said, we don't say we want parnasa anymore, which is sustenance. We say we want ashirus, we want riches. That's what we're supposed to ask for. I wasn't at the Fabring, I don't know the details about it, but that's what we're supposed to. And the Rebbe said that in Parshas Truma anyway, that every Jew needs to have Ashiros and all that. So it's a beautiful journey. I'm so happy to be on this journey. I don't, even if I don't have all the answers, and I sometimes in the like, what? Like, now what? I trust that we're in this together, and the Rebbe trusts that we're gonna do this, that we receive Mekabel Pnei Mashiach, be a Mekabel, not just the side of, and with so much joy and contentment of heart. So good night, everyone. Freilichen Chanukah, lots of light and lots of joy and Malchos, miracles and Niflas, also wonders. Khani, was great to see you. Tony, so nice to be here with you. Shterna Sarah, Chana Hinda, Chana Belinov, Deborah, it's great to see you. Rivka Broner, Yo, Donna Gigi, it's great to see you. Khani, Henya Lane, wonderful to see you. I think Ladaev, I'm not sure if this is Sprinza, Rachi, and anybody that was here before. Thanks so much for coming, everyone, and have a wonderful